Hello, comrades. Commissar Bro here today. This is the second time I'm recording. Well, technically the third time I'm recording this video because I keep messing it up because I'm a dingbat. Anyway, Commissar Bro here with the final episode of the business strategy game series I've done for the past 12 weeks here on the channel. I hope you guys have enjoyed this series. Again, this is the last one because the game's actually over at this point. And I wanted to kind of jump in real quick before they reset the stats or I lose access to the game and I never get to take a look at these stats again. So I want to go ahead and start off by, and I will say, by the way, I did miss last week, but I have it recorded. I just accidentally recorded and didn't record a mic. So that's that. I mean, that's all I can really say about it. I forgot to actually get the sound, and here we are today. Anyway, taking a look at this little game here, we're going to take a look at our performance charts and kind of go over everything one more time. And keep in mind, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm super tired. But again, I wanted to do this for you guys, and for me as well, to journal my experience in this game. But anyway, so net revenues for year 18 were at their lowest for us, right? It was at $615 million. Things were looking really rough, and we were afraid, I know I was afraid, that I was not going to end strong, that I was going to freaking max out and just end. Thankfully, year 19 was a huge turnaround for my company. I managed to undercut the company E, who actually undercut us in the private label market the year prior. That caused us to lose so much money from year 17 to year 18. So basically, we undercut them and managed to get a huge foothold of the private label market, as we can see down here. It makes a lot of sense when you're looking at this number because it's only 714, and then this number is 2,838. So literally a 2,100 increase. Going from year 19 to year 20, net revenues went down about $5 million, but that's okay. It was just $5 million to our overall $707 million. We basically decided to get out of all the private label markets for the most part, except for one. All that money you see there was literally made in the Europe-African market. That's it. All the rest of it was taken out, and we basically just sold the rest of our shoes on wholesale and on the internet as best we could. Overall, though, we still made all the money we needed to make, and our earnings per share were higher in year 20 than they ever were. Matter of fact, we went from $14.48 in year 18 to $18.54 year 19 and $20.43 per share in year 20, which is a really strong number. We actually managed to get into the top 100 with that $20.43 per share, just saying. The return on equity we managed to get at 36%. Considering that year 18 it was 31.5%. It was literally an increase from year 14 all the way up. It was a steady incline. So that was really good. I'm happy to have ended on such a high number. To give you an idea, return on equity in a real company, a good number would be about 25%. So at 36.1%, we're at a really strong return on equity number. So that's a great percentage. Stock price, there was huge fluctuations again where we took a huge divot there where company E cut into the private label and kind of cut us out. But again, the year next we were up to $353 per stock, and then we ended at $337.23 because we did give up a little bit of the market. But overall, I mean, $337 per stock is a really good number. Most companies do not have that. That's a Fortune 500 company right there, son. Close enough anyway. Credit ratings, we managed to maintain an A+ from year 15 all the way to year 20. So 6 years in a row we had an A+ credit rating. That was never a problem for us. Maybe in the beginning when we took out a bunch of loans and got to a B+, but I mean, we brought a solid end there. Nothing was wrong with that. Our image rating kind of struggled. When we lost out on the private label market in year 18, it dropped all the way down to 85. Considering the year prior, we were at 96. The next year, we managed to get back up to 96, but we ended with an 84. The image went down again because we ceded our position in a lot of private label markets. When you do that, it affects your image rating. and it brought our image rating down considerably. However, we still had so many celebrities, and we were still competing in so many markets that we managed to keep our image rating at 84, so no big deal for the most part. Again, global unit sales, we sold over 12 million units, and this is basically the number sold in each. We sold really, really well. I mean, honestly, we were basically selling upwards of, what is that, like 13, 14, basically 14 million units. So, like, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. Most of our money came from wholesales, as per usual. And we can really see where the private labels were rough in year 18, but we managed to bring it back for the final count. And the global market share, again, you can see that divot where we lost a huge percentage of the private labels, 0% in most areas. The only share we had was in Asia Pacific, the private label anyway. And then we brought it back in year 19 and finished off with a good 21.8% of the total market out of 7 companies. I mean, if you own almost a fifth of the market and there's 7 companies in that market, basically the only reason we didn't own more of the market is because we couldn't produce more shoes. If we could produce more shoes, we would have had more of the market. There's no doubt in my mind. So overall, we did really well there. Taking a look at the scoreboard and the other things like here, we can basically see we finished year 20 with a 108 score. We had a 98 in best in industry and 118 in investor expectation, which was a -2 down from the years prior. But, I mean, we still ended the game-to-date score at 117 because we got 7 additional bonus points, and our overall score was a 110. So, for the most part, I'm happy. I mean, we pretty much, even looking at the top 100s, we were on the top 100 for like 6 weeks in a row, 6 or 7 weeks there. And many of those times, like at least 3 of those times, I was the #1 company in the entire world. Or at least I was tied for first place with a couple of other people. When you consider that there are well over 5,000 companies playing in the game at any given time, that's really good. We're basically better than 5,000 other companies, and each one of those companies is generally run by about 3 or 4 people who are competing against us. They're competing in teams. So I did this myself and beat out these teams of people to have one of the most successful companies in the entire game. And I feel really proud about that, and I feel really happy about that because, I mean, that's definitely an accomplishment as far as it goes in my book. I mean, how many people can you say played a game like this and actually ran a company and was like the best company in the game when competing, when you've got think tanks of people who are trying to put theories behind how they're doing successfully? So, I mean, that's one thing. I'm pretty proud of it overall, to be honest with you. And if we're taking a look at earnings per share, again, we ended really strong. We made a $6 increase in our earnings per share in less than 3 years. So that's a huge. You can imagine, given our company a little bit more time, what it would grow to. It would just keep growing as long as we just keep cutting in. You can see something interesting here, like Company A. He just kind of gave up. I mean, his earnings per share ended at -$17. That's crazy. Company C ended at 81 cents in earnings per share. So, I mean, we ended really strong there. Our return on equity, again, was really high, 36.1. Company E coming in real close with a 24.4, the highest I think anyone had ever gotten outside. Oh, no, well, Company C did real strong in the beginning years there. Yeah, 26.7, 25.1. So basically, at past year 13, that's the highest anybody aside from me got. So it's really interesting to see. And his strategies were really successful. They were doing him really well. I mean, he doubled his stock price, as you can see right here, in just 1 year by taking a majority share of the private label market. And again, I mean, he tripled it here. And when he took control of the private label market. So he was really aggressive on the private label market. And you can just see how gaining it and losing it affects the ebb and flow of how much your company makes. If you get cut out, I mean, those are millions of pairs of shoes you're not selling. So he did a pretty solid job of taking control of that a couple times there. Again, I'm not going to go over too many of these stats because ultimately you've seen them all. You've seen them all a million times. Really, all I want to do is I just kind of wanted to get this one last time and show off just, the final performance charts and how we did, and just how I'm really happy with how things turned out. I'm really happy that I got to play this game. Honestly, I'm kind of sad that it's over, and that there isn't an actual commercial copy that I can buy, or basically a retail copy that people who aren't students in a program could partake in this game. I'm really sad there isn't something like that. I'm really surprised there isn't a game like this, where you can forecast sales and compete against other people across the world. I mean, truly, it would be really fun, and I know myself, I would definitely pay money to actually do that. I mean, I paid $150 just for this educational version of the textbook, so I'd probably be willing to pay at least $60 for an actual functioning copy of this game where I could compete against other people in certain limits of time. I mean, all the rules could still be the same. Just make it to where you can have different types of companies, or different events can occur. So basically, like a stock market crash, how's everyone going to be affected, and so on and so forth. It would be really interesting. I think it would be incredibly educational, especially teaching people how, kind of like a simplified version of how to run a business. What is it like competing in a market, and so on and so forth. I think it would be really interesting, and no one has ever made a game like this that's available for people to buy and play and compete against each other. So the fact that this type of game is literally being kept kind of away from the general public, you have to be associated with a program that is also associated, that licenses basically the game, that's registered with the company for this game. So that you need a teacher basically to register you. So yeah, it's a shame that there isn't something like this in the actual market out there that people can purchase and buy and play. I think that would be really cool. But again, that's just my personal opinion, and maybe a lot of people find stuff like this incredibly boring. But I think this does a really good job of getting down to the core mechanics of competing and what it's like to compete and what you're doing, just general ideas. I mean, you're not going through the actual, for example, with celebrities, you're not going through the legwork of actually getting these people. You're just saying, all right, look, I'm willing to pay this much for them. And then basically your hypothetical people you send out to go and actually do the job, go and get these people for that money, they bid for them. So, I mean, it's all very simplified of a process, but I mean, it's simplified just enough to really explain the core concepts of business. And I feel like that's where this game does incredibly well, and why it would be great to have something like this to play in my free time. Honestly, the last game that really kind of made me think about, there's two games that are like this, definitely more simplified, but that really explore these mechanics. And the first is the original Making History. The two Making Histories that came after it, not so much. But the first one definitely had that industrial capacity idea, and I don't really know how to describe it. And then Superpower 2. Just because Superpower 2, with how the economy was work, and you actually have to worry about budgeting and stuff like that, but it's all still simplified, and it's the overall system. It has complexity to it, but it's a pretty simple system overall. So anyway, this basically makes me think a lot of that, and it would be really cool to see more games like this, actually come out. I know there was Real Politics that came out, which is Geopolitical Simulator. But I mean, that was too simple. Beyond simplified, to the point where it wasn't even really that fun. It didn't even realistically represent conflicts between major nations. I find it really hard to believe that if Russia and Djibouti went to war, Djibouti would be able to easily hold them off with a tiny military. That doesn't make any sense to me. But what do I know, right? I'm just a YouTuber who plays geopolitical strategy games. But anyway, this has been Commissar Bro. Thanks so much for following me on this little journey here, guys. Again, I'm mostly keeping this as a journal for me to go back and look at myself if I ever feel nostalgic, which I quite often do. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the journey as well. Like, I hope you've enjoyed watching this game, and I hope you all get the opportunity to play a game like this. It's so much fun, and I've had so much fun going into class and just sitting there talking to my classmates, and basically us competing against each other to see who has the most effective strategies going in. So it's really, really nifty, and plus I get a good grade, so that pays off as well. But ultimately, I'm just happy I got to compete in this. This was really cool. But anyway, this has been CB. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.